Hi guys, this is Dr. Callahan for Algebra 2 Semester 2, Week 17 Tuesday. How are you guys doing? Go ahead and pause the video and answer the following 3 questions. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with today's stuff. You guys know that this is week 17. Today is Tuesday, which is the 10th. Your final for this class is going to be on June 6th, which is a Monday at 7:45 a.m. And that is going to be your day of the final. You have 2 hours in this class for your final and also for all your other finals. And my biggest thing is don't be late, because you're more than 15 minutes late, that door is going to be locked and you're going to have to get it incomplete and then take the final next year. Okay, so it's a timed test. It's not even my test. It's a common district final. So you have to make sure that you are here for that. Last day to turn any work on Math Excel for your Wednesdays, Math Excel practice, anything to turn in your hard copies, your guided notes, your worksheets that you guys get the check marks for. There is a penalty if it's late, but it's better than not having it at all, is June 2nd. So June 2nd is that Thursday before the Friday. That Friday, June 3rd, is the start of your finals for period 1 and 2. And then that Monday is period 3 and 4. And then that Tuesday is 5 and 6. So your last day of turning anything in is that Thursday by 2:25 p.m. After that, I don't want to see any work because I'm going to be, focusing on some of the other classes as well. And so that is your very last day. All right, Common District Final, that's coming up. I will be preparing you guys for that test after we finish this last guided notes. It's a computer graded test. All your personal belonging needs to be on alongside the wall, blah, blah, blah. You've heard me talk about this. Study guide review starts next week on week 18 and 19. You take your final week 20 Monday at, Monday at 7:45 in the morning. Just kidding. Yep, that's correct. So what can you have on your final that day? You can have a TI-84, which I'll give you. You get an answer sheet, make sure it's around. You need to have a number 2 pencil. I'll give that to you. If you want to have some water, because it's a 2-hour test, you can go ahead and bring a bottle of water. You will not have any access to your cell phones or anything during that 2 hour. When you guys walk into this class, it's gonna be in rows and columns. So keep that in mind. And everybody get a test book. There'll be a formula sheet inside it. No notes, no electronic, just purely brain power. And that is it. All right, I feel that some of you guys are not quite sure what to expect when it comes to the warm-up that's going to be due coming up. It's going to be exactly the same of what you did for the first 9 weeks. And I want to make sure that I go over this. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull this up. Okay, your warm-up is due on week 19, Friday. You should have 100 boxes filled out. Actually, you should have more than 100 boxes, because if you think about it, it's 9 weeks, 5 days a week, 3 questions a day. So 9 times 5 times 3 is 135. But that 135, I'm only accounting 100 of it, because that's account for like when you guys had your ACT day or the day that you were not here because it was a Monday for a holiday. So anything over 100 boxes will be for extra credit, but you need to have 100. As I'm just glancing around right now, some of you guys don't even have your warm-up log out. So I'm like, it is your grade. You know what you're getting graded for. So just keep that in mind. Another thing that you need to have is your participation. Your participation means that you're physically here, not tardy or absent, because you can't participate if you're physically not here. And technically, if you are absent for class, you need to go to the YouTube channel, watch the Algebra 2 videos, and then the following day go, hey, I completed this, give me my check marks, and then I will do that. If you haven't been doing that, your participation is kind of lacking for the last 9 weeks. Participation also attributes to your Padlet, your exit ticket and whatnot. Your next 100 point is for your preparation. Are you prepared for class? Do you have the warm-up out? Is your cell phone away? Are you over here looking at your cell phone the entire time? Essentially, are you prepared for this class? So all 300 added up is going to give you the 300 into your grade week 19 Friday. So that is your total. And so that will be going into your grade book week 19 Friday. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, if you guys take a look at your YouTube channel here, I have the video from yesterday already uploaded on there. So if you've been absent for the last couple of days, make sure you guys are getting caught up with your stuff. So week 17 Monday is already there. week 16 Friday, Thursday, etc. is already posted. So yeah, so you should not be missing anything. If you're like, well, what if I have like a bunch of empty spaces on my warm-up log? Then if one of them, let's say, is week 12 Tuesday, you click on that video, you just pause the very beginning of it, and that's the warm-up for week 14 Tuesday. Okay, so that's all you have to do. So if you're like, I have a bunch of empty boxes, what do I do with this? That's what you need to do. All right, you guys. So last class, which was yesterday, what did you miss? We continue with properties of logs. We learn how to find them on our calculators a little bit more. I introduced you guys log and ln, but more specifically, we went over adding and subtracting some of the logs. We also went over the properties of log, rewriting logs. So that was a lot of it. And again, you have this video recorded on the YouTube channel, so you're welcome to watch it. Yesterday's stuff was a little bit difficult because we went over like condensing and elongating, the different ways of writing logs and the rules that apply to. And then I ended you guys that day yesterday with a few more practices, and like this right here, we condensed it. And then of course, then we expanded it. And so today we'll continue on with a little bit more practice on that. And yesterday we also ended it with the quizzes. You turn in your paper with your work. So yeah. You're not that big challenge to work on. All right, so today we're going to go ahead and continue with this. You need to have your guided notes, and also you need to have a TI-84 calculator and a bag of highlighters. So come on up and grab those things, please. There was a video that I posted like earlier last week where I seriously forgot to stop the video. So it kept on recording for like 3 hours. So somebody sent me an email from this class and was like, you have a video that's 3 hours. And I'm like, I know, I didn't have time to edit it. So if you want to learn how to do calculus and prob and stats, it was a continuation all the way until like 2:35, and it just kept going. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sure you even heard me sitting here eating my lunch and stuff. And I'm like, all right. So over the summer, I will edit that. But like now I'm like, I don't have time for it. So you have a 3-hour video of that entire day. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so with your calculators, we're going to go ahead and try to use properties of log to evaluate the following expressions. So if you take a look at this, notice how a lot of the logs, you do not have 10 anymore. Okay, so you have a number down there. And with the number, you can't just simply use your calculator and plug it in, because that number with a log is always 10 in your calculator. And if you have a different number other than 10, you have to rewrite it. And so with your calculator, we're going to first rewrite it, and then we'll just plug it into your calculator and then have your calculator do the work. Okay, sorry about that. I had to like relook at something first. All right, so if it's gonna be a 3 right here, that's not 10. Remember there was a formula that I had you guys write out from yesterday that basically said log base B A, and B is not 10, obviously. Then that's gonna be equal to log A, which goes on top, over log B. So you can rewrite it like that way and then just put it into your calculator. So then what I'm going to do with this one for number 16 is I'm going to do log 9 times 27 divided by log 3. And that should go ahead and work just fine with your calculator. So if you have your calculator, we're just going to type in log with a parenthesis. Oh, come on. Clear. Nine times 27, you can have it like that, then close the parenthesis, divide, and you're gonna hit log 3. Close that parenthesis, enter, and your answer is just going to be 5. And that is your answer. All right, next part, similar to that, our next one that we have is ln e to the -4. This one, you don't even have to use a calculator. Just remember, anytime you have an ln and an e, it just cancels, okay? So then the exponent just comes down and your answer is just -4. But if you're like, I don't believe you, I think it's not gonna be -4, Callahan, well, that's okay. So grab your calculator, you're just gonna hit ln, and then go second to the division bar. Do you see where there is an e? Or you could do second to the ln, which gives you the e, and then there's exponent. On the exponent, you're gonna type -4, use the little cursor to the right, and then close the parenthesis. Hit enter. And it has error because I didn't do this correctly. So I'm gonna hit ln second, and then ln again, -4, there we go. That's better. Enter, and you get a -4. So ln and e, just remember they cancel each other, and the exponent will just be your answer. Okay, next one. Here, you're just going to rewrite it as a log 125 to the 3rd divided by log to the 5th. So then with your calculator, once again, we are going to type in log, and then 125, use that little caret exponential button to 3. Use the right cursor, so you bring your parenthesis down, close that parenthesis, then divide, log again, and 5, close that parenthesis, enter, and you should get 9. And if you're like, I'm just writing everything you're doing down, and that's great, but you also need to know where the buttons are, you guys, because on the Common District Final, they're going to expect you to have questions and know how to use those questions with the buttons. And so if you don't know where the buttons are, that is going to be problematic, because I wouldn't be able to help you because I'm not even supposed to look at the test. And so make sure you guys know how to go about doing that. All right, number 19. So now that you guys had 2 or 3 questions on practice with me, I'm gonna have you guys do number 19 and 20 on your own. So take a moment, use your calculator, rewrite them. Make sure you know where the buttons are and the exponent buttons. and then write down the answers when you're done. All right, so taking a look at questions number 19, you should have 5, and number 20, you should have 15. Those are your answers. All right, let's go ahead and move on over. All right, we're going to start solving exponential equation. That was like the last part of log properties that I want to go over with you guys. So go ahead and flip over to where it says day 11, solving exponential and log equations. And we are going to start with that today, you guys. Okay, so exponential equations. Bases on both sides equal signs. If the bases are on the same, cancel the bases on each side, set the exponents equal to each other, and solve the remaining equation. So first thing what you guys do is grab your highlighters. If the base is on the same side, like you have a 2 and a 2 or a 4 or 4 or whatever number on the same side, what you do is you cancel the base on each side. Then you're going to go ahead and set the exponent equal to each other. And then essentially just solve the remaining equation. Those are the steps. And I use different colors, one for each different step. So what I mean by that is take a look at example 1. Which one is your base? Your base is a big number. So hopefully you guys notice like, oh, it's 2. And you're right, it is 2. Do you see how there's 2 on both sides there? So then what you do is you just cross out the base, okay? So step 1 says base are on the same side. Yes, they are. They're both 2. Step 2, cancel the base on each side. Cancel the 2. Step 3, set the exponent equal to each other. Your exponents are these numbers on top. So 3x minus 1 equals 7x plus 2. Step 4, solve the remaining equation. If I were to solve this equation, I'm going to move my 3x, so subtract 3x on both sides, which means I will have to subtract the 2 on both sides. And when I do that, I know that -1 minus 2 is a -3. The positive 3 and -3 just cancels. 7x minus 3x is a 4x. Positive and -2 cancels. Last step, you're going to divide it by 4 on both sides. So x equals -3 over 4. That is your answer. So again, if you're stuck to your cell phone, just keep in mind, like you guys get points for your efforts every single day. And if your grade is kind of like on the cusp of not passing, you might want to make better choices. All right, number 2, let's take a look at that one right there. For number 2, what is your base? Hopefully you know that it is E. So let's go ahead and just take that and let's cross it out because they're the same base. So then I take the exponent, which is the little numbers on top, and I just simply set it equal to each other. So -x squared equals -3x minus 4. Well, this is a little bit different than the last one because you have an x squared. And I remember you guys talked about factoring at one point. So let's go ahead and set everything to 0. Move that -x squared to the right, which becomes a positive x squared minus 3x minus 4. So you got to ask yourself, what times what gives me a -4? But when I add it together, gives me a -3. I think the only one that's going to work in this situation is going to be -4 and +1, because -4 times +1 is a -4, but -4 plus 1 gives me a -3. So when I solve for this, it's just x minus 4 equals 0. So x equals 4, x equal negative 1. And that's your answer. When you guys take a look at number 3 and 4 are different. Okay, why are they different? Because with your highlighters, we're going to go on and highlight the important information. If the bases are not the same, okay, 1 and 2, they were the same. You had E and E, 2 and 2. If the base is not the same, these are your steps. Number 1, change one base into a common base. And step 2, then you just cancel and solve it, just like what we did before. Okay, so once you have the common basis, you do exactly the same. So for number 3, if you take a look at this, I have 3 and 9. Is there any way I can change all of them to the same base, which would just be a 3? I don't know about you, but I think 3 squared is 9, right? So I'm going to change that 9 to a 3 squared. So I'm going to rewrite it. So 3 squared, but then you're going to put down x plus 1 exactly the way it is. And on the left side, nothing changed. So that's just 3x plus 5 equal to each other. Now that I have both of the bases exactly the same, it says follow the steps above. Cancel the base and then solve the exponent. So you have x plus 5 equals, distribute that 2. So you have a 2x plus 2. And then we're just going to solve. Subtract the x on both sides. Subtract the 2 on both sides. So when you do that, you know your x's cancel and your positive negative 2 cancels. But then what remains different is 5 minus 2 gives you a 3. 2x minus x is just an x. And that is your answer, x equals 3. Okay, on to number 4. Number 4, you have 32 and 2. And again, bases are not the same. So step 1, change one of the bases. I know 2 is my base, so I gotta ask myself, 2 to the what power gives me 32? So grab your calculator, you could do a little bit of guesses. You could do 2 to the 3rd power, which gives you 8. 2 to the 4th power gives you 16. And hopefully you know that 2 to the 5th power gives you 32, which means I'm going to rewrite this 2 to the 5th. Make sure you put down the parenthesis, x minus 1 equals 2 to the 5x. And the right side, nothing changes. So then we just follow the steps above. So if they're exactly the same, you're going to go ahead and cancel it. So I'm just going to box it and cancel it. And then just bring down your exponent. But remember, with a 5, you want to distribute it. So you have 5x minus 5 equals 5x. Do you see how there's a 5x on both sides that just cancel? So your answer is negative 5 equals 0. And guess what? That's not a good answer because negative 5 does not equal 0. So it's just no solution. And on your test, you will have questions that look like that. And one of the answers they give you is no solution. So in that case, you select no solution. You don't select negative 5. You don't select 0. It's no solution. All right, now I'm going to go on to part B, exponent on one side of the equation. So how do we solve it when it looks like this for 5, 6, 7, and 8? Okay, so let me show you where logs comes in. Okay, you guys know that 3 squared is 9, right? We know that. Did you guys also know that if I were to rewrite this, I will get log base 3, 9, which equals 2. And I know you're like, how the heck do you get from that to that? You could rewrite this, and this is from yesterday's property, okay? And if you're like, I don't believe that's the case, well, grab your calculator. How do we go ahead, solve for this? Remember, it's gonna be log 9 divided by log 3, enter, and guess what? Does it give you a 2? Yes, it does. And because this does equal, you will have to use this property to rewrite it for 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so just remember that property. So let's take a look at number 5. For number 5, you have 2 to the x equals 7. If you have to rewrite that with a log, how would you rewrite it? I know that 2 will become a base. 7 comes over here. Exponent x will be on the right side. Well, since x is already solved for you, it should be fairly simple. You're simply just going to type this into your calculator. So let's do that. So here's my calculator. I'm going to put in log 7. That's the first one. Divided by log 2. Hit enter. And your answer for number 5 is 2.807. Take a look at number 6, 7, and 8. What would you do in those situations? For number 6, if you take a look at that, there's like a 1/10, which is a big pain in the butt. And then, of course, you have the 5, and then x plus 6, or x plus 4, and then 18. First things first, I don't like the 1/10. That fraction really makes me upset. So I'm just going to get rid of it. So what's opposite of a division of a 10? Hopefully you guys know opposite of a division. You guys know this. It's multiplication, right? So I'm going to multiply both sides by 10. And when I do that, the 10 and a 110 cancels out. And I'm left with 5x plus 4 equals 108. Now let's rewrite this with a log. And when I do that, you know that you can have the word log. That 5 becomes the base, 180 goes to the left side, equals x plus 4. So then with your highlighter, we're just going to focus on the right side here, you guys, because I can always subtract the 4 at the very end, but I need my calculator to figure that left side out first. So then with your calculator, so here's my calculator, I'm going to type in log 180 divided by log 5, which gives me 3.226, blah, blah, blah. But on the right side, do you see how there's an x plus 4? So what's opposite of plus 4? Minus 4. So you just want to take your answer, push the minus button, 4, enter, and then you get your answer, which is a negative 0.773. And that's it. That's your answer. One of the biggest things that's different about Algebra 1 versus Algebra 2 is that in Algebra 2, you have to do so much. And when I say so much, I'm dead serious. You do. You have to do so much things that's like related to calculators that, yeah, there's just a lot of stuff with calculators. All right, so your answer should be just negative 0.773. Let's take a look at number 7, you guys. For number 7, you have e to the negative x plus 1 equals 6. I don't like having that e there, so how do I get rid of an e? Remember, I just showed you opposite of an e is an ln. So I'm going to put ln on the left side and ln on the right side. So put an ln on the left, but you got to balance it, so ln goes on the right as well. Well, ln and e just cancels out, and then you just bring down that negative x plus 1 equals ln 6. All right, everything else here from now on is just calculator. So with your calculator, you're going to hit ln 6, enter. You get 1.79. On the left side, do you see how there's a positive 1 there? How do you get rid of a positive 1? You just hit -1 on your calculator, which then gives you a 0.791. But then remember, that's a negative x on the left side equaling to that. So how do you get rid of a negative x? You just multiply everything by a -1. So your positive 0.71 technically becomes a negative 0.71. And that is your answer. And that's what you have to do. And again, a lot of Algebra 2 is learning how to use your calculator. And that's your answer right there, negative 0.791. All right, number 8. Number 8 looks kind of crazy because there's like a bunch of numbers there. And first thing I think you should do is probably get rid of that positive 4 because that's just sticking out like a sore thumb. So if I subtract 4 on both sides, I have 10 to the 2x minus 3. 21 minus 4 is a 17. Once I have it like this, remember you got to rewrite it with log. And so I'm going to have log, that 10 becomes my base, that 17 moves over to the left, and on the right, it's a 2x minus 3. Okay, well, once we're at this point, let's use your calculator. You know, eventually at the very end, you're going to add the 3 and then divide it by the 2 to get the x by itself. But everything on the left side is just calculator work. So log 17, close your parenthesis, divided by log. Oh, actually, you know what? Do you see how you have a log 10 right there? So you don't even have to divide it by the log 10 because anything with a 10, it's just log 17. But if you're going to do it anyways, you hit enter. Do you see how you have 1.23? But just to make sure that if you just put log 17 and not put the log 10, guess what? You get the same answer. And I'm going to show it to you guys right now once I am able to pull up my calculator. So log 17, do you see how they have exactly the same answer? It's still 1.23. That's why if the base is a 10, you don't need to do the division. But if it's not a 10, you have to divide the top divided by the bottom. Once I have this answer, you're going to add the 3 to both sides. So add 3, then divide it by 2. And your answer is 2.115. And that is your answer. So 2.115. And again, you did all of that just using your calculator. All right, let's move on. Okay, so where does log comes in when we talked about like our applications of money problems? So the main idea, when you are solving for time, use a log. Okay, so now we're gonna go back to the application problem and we're gonna put everything together as to when do we use log in exponential growth and decay. Question number 9. You have $1,000. So with your highlighter, we're gonna highlight the most important stuff. So $1,000, you have an account that pays you 5% interest. It's being compounded semi-annually. How long would it take you to triple your money? Keyword is triple. So I'm just highlighting all of the information. You don't have to use different highlighters. I do that because, you know, I teach this all day and so it gets a little bit boring. So I'm like, going to change the highlighter colors, but you can use the same one. That's totally fine. So A is going to be tripling your money. So if you had $1,000 to begin with, which is P, what is triple of 1,000? 3,000. R is your interest. That's 0.05. T is your time. And I'm going to put a question mark there because that's what I want to know. How long is it going to take me to put $1,000 and magically transform it into $3,000? Semi-annual just means N equals 2, just kind of like the Bath and Body Works semi-annual sale. They only have the sales in January and August. So all the crappy lotion that nobody wanted for Christmas, they sell it to you at 75% off in January. All right, so let's plug this in, you guys. So A is 3,000, P is 1,000, 1 plus R, which is 0.05, over N, that's 2, 2T. My goal here is to find the T. So how long would it take me to triple my investment? First thing I'm gonna do is I don't like having that 1,000, so I want to get rid of that. Right there. What's opposite of a times by 1,000? You guessed it, it's divide. So let's divide it by 1,000 on both sides. So then everything on the left side just becomes 3. And then, and I'm grabbing my highlighter because I want you to see what I'm doing. I want to put everything inside the orange parenthesis into one number. And you will need your calculator for that one, unless of course you can like add and multiply and divide in your head with decimals, which I can't, but maybe you can. 0.05 divided by 2 plus 1 is going to give you a 1.025. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, rewrite this as 3 is equal to 1.025 to the 2t. Now that it's in this form, remember you have to rewrite this as a log, okay? And so when I rewrite this as a log, I have the word log. My base is going to be, and you've got to be careful because remember, you're probably used to seeing this as written backwards like this, okay? And so you have your log, your base, which is 1.025, is going to go down there to the bottom. 3 is going to be on the left side, and it's going to equal to 2t. So you're rewriting it to that. All right, last step is just grab your calculator, and we are going to do this. Okay, we're going to do log 3, close the parenthesis, divided by log, and it's not a 10, so either type it in, 1.025. 25, close parenthesis, enter. You get 44.5. But then on the right side, do you see how there's a 2 there? So you got to divide it by that 2. And T equals 22.25 years. So if you want to triple your investment, it's going to take you 22.25 years to do that. Which I know that seems like a long time, but if you're tripling your investment, you only have like $1,000. 22 years is not bad, especially if you're planning on like saving your money and probably putting more money in there. But your answer is 22.25 years. And I will go ahead and stop right there for today's stuff, you guys, and then we'll continue this on for next time. But for your exit ticket, go over to this QR code, and I'm going to go over your question with you guys, which is right here. That is your exit ticket. Okay, so the article that I found today is actually written by a high school student. And on this article, it's a high school student from Seattle, and this is Ahmad Ross, and his article is Student Voices. Colleges, please don't look at freshman year's grade. He said that when he was in high school, he really screwed up his freshman year, and as a result of that, his GPA was very low freshman year. And so he's asking colleges not to look freshman year's grades and just base on scholarship and acceptance rates on sophomore, junior, and senior year only. And some of the schools like UC Berkeley is actually doing that. He actually got into Columbia University on a full ride scholarship, but Columbia actually did look at his freshman year. And in his freshman year, he wanted to be a drunk musician and he did not want to do well in school. And so he didn't, but then sophomore year, he's like, I want to be a lawyer, so I really need to get my act together. And so his grades actually improved significantly. So my question for you is on those 4 questions right there. Go to the QR code and answer the following 4 questions. And for those of you guys on Zoom, that is it for today. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.